Well, I was going to say it's a frigid morning on the Frugal Gardener's homestead, but that wouldn't be accurate. It's actually cold. Last time I checked, it was 29 degrees outside. So here I am. This video is late for those of you who subscribe to this channel. And this is a hint as to part of the reason why we got snow again. And the solstice, shortest day of the year, first day of winter, is another 16, 17 days away, but we shall persevere. The weather is not cooperating, but I thought about my mom this morning, and back in the day, late 50s, early 60s, she was a crossing guard, and she stood out in this kind of weather all the time, so if she can do it, I can do it. All right, so on my countdown, I have things that I want to show you today that are going to help you to add nutrients to your garden for free. And let me back up and say I am the Frugal Gardener. For those of you who are new to my channel, I live on a homestead in the hills of West Virginia. It's 4.5 acres, and I garden on about 1/4 of an acre. This doesn't look like much right now, but this is my fenced-off garden. I have smaller gardens all throughout, things that you'll see spring to life, well, probably around April. So, let's begin. Okay, so for the last couple of months, I have been showing you guys how you can grow indoors without spending much money. In fact, only spending 25 cents for a pack of seeds. And I have created a garden using boxes for the most part, but I've also been using these free containers, upscaling, recycling. This goes by a bunch of different names. And so now I'm going to shift gears and tell you how you can add nutrients to your plants, also without spending any money. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these first two because if you are familiar with this channel, then I've covered this, I don't know, 2 or 3 times already. I will put a link to give you a detailed explanation, description, step by step on how you can do this. So, of course, you know this one is the eggshells. Basically, you wait until you get a bunch of these and you wash those off, and you can boil them, which I normally do. That's one of my favorite methods. And after I boil them, I crush them, put them on a sheet pan like this, dry them out, and then you put them in a coffee grinder. I have a coffee grinder specifically set aside for this purpose. So that's number one. 1, 2, and 3, like I said, pretty standard, but it's the last one you want to stick around for. The last one, in fact, I have not talked about, in like 4 or 5 years. So if you haven't been with me that long, you're going to want to stick around because the last one is also the most important one. So you're going to get calcium, obviously, from the eggshells. Some people let the eggshells sit and they basically use the water from the eggshells, but to me, you're not really getting the true benefit by going that route. And this one is also pretty obvious, one that I use all the time. I never throw banana peels away. I have peels in here now, dehydrating. Basically, once you eat the bananas, I cut the peels into roughly 2 to 3 inch pieces, and I put them in my dehydrator. It takes about 6 to 8 hours, depending upon the temperature. This is by no means high tech. This is one I've had for years and years. The Frugal daughter brought this for me, and I'm still getting use out of it. Once they are crispy and dried, the principle is still the same. You put them in the coffee grinder, and once they are ground up, they will look similar to the shells. Both of those directly into the soil. So now this is a little different in terms of what you're going to gain from this, because the banana peels are going to give you primarily potassium, whereas you get calcium from here. You're going to get potassium, you're going to get magnesium, you're going to get phosphorus. So those are the three main things that you're going to get, but there's also a couple of micronutrients that are included in that. So again, like I said, I'm going to just zip through these first three, and then we're going to get down to business, down to the more serious stuff that you're not going to want to miss. So this is, in case you can't see it through this container, these are coffee grounds. I say these every day. We drink coffee every day, and a lot of people throw these away. You can throw these directly on top of your soil, mix them in your soil. I used unbleached coffee grounds, coffee filters. So that's what you see here. I add those also. Now, I prefer to dry these out. Again, you can use a sheet tray for that, or you don't have to, but to me, that works better. So the difference between here, which is calcium, and here is potassium and the things I just named, the coffee grounds, they have different benefits because they're also good for soil improvement. They attract worms, which are good for the soil because the worms poop. And this improves the aeration of the soil because, like I said, when you dry them out, you put them in, they don't just incorporate directly into the soil, but when you wet them, then you're going to get retention. These coffee grounds are, I don't know, these are probably a week old, and yes, they're in a container, but if I just take this top off, you'll see that they're still wet. So they retain moisture a lot longer than just regular soil. So you have the aeration, you have the water retention, and basically there are nutrients that also come with this additives to your soil, phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium. So these are all good. These are all going to help you guys in terms of growing this stuff for free. So again, you paid for the seeds. That's all you paid for, the nutrients, and I'm going to show you more nutrients that you can add that won't cost you a dime. Well, we got a little snow yesterday, so I decided to take advantage of that and make a fire, give you guys a little special effects. The purpose of me showing you this is because wood ash is one of the main things that people overlook. At least I think they overlook it. People buy lime, and what that does is neutralizes the pH in the soil. But as I mentioned to you earlier, calcium and phosphorus, both of those things you're going to find in wood ash. Now, the important thing to take away from this is wood from the homestead, wood from right outside my front door. Nothing but wood. You cannot, I would strongly advise you not to burn wood that has been treated, not to burn wood that is in combination with trash or cardboard boxes or anything that has dyes or inks to it. People use things to get their fires started. They spray stuff, they sprinkle stuff, they put stuff on these fires. You get where I'm going with this. This needs to be just plain old ordinary wood. I save these ashes all winter. I put them in a container. A word of caution, I have had times where I haven't used my fireplace in a couple of days, and I took the wood ash out, and I saw embers still underneath the ash. So you could still have a possibility of a live fire. So whenever I take my ashes out, I take my ashes out, meaning out the house. And so in the event that there is still something live going on in there, but you don't see it, you're not going to burn the house down. But if you don't have a fireplace, you might have a friend or a neighbor or a coworker, somebody who basically just throws this out. And this is gold because, again, this is something free that you add to your soil that's going to help benefit what you're trying to grow. Okay, so those I've covered before. I think these are 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to get to the last two, which, again, this is the good stuff. The next one I'm going to talk about, you're going to probably scratch your head in the beginning because you're going to say, well, duh, I mean, this is a no-brainer. But when you think about it, when you scratch below the surface, you'll understand why I added this on the list. And then we're going to get to the final one, which is going to be the showstopper. So let's move on. So when I say free things for your garden, I am going to include water. And you might think that, well, that's a no-brainer. Of course, you need water for your garden, and you just turn on the tap and you get water. Well, yeah, but you're going to pay for it. When I lived in the city, I paid roughly $70 a month for water. I have no idea of what it is now. Lots of you can, a lot of you don't have the option of getting rainwater. This doesn't look like much right now. Clearly it's frozen. It's been below freezing. I would say it's been below freezing for almost a week now. And this happens every winter. A lot of times it doesn't get above freezing. But at any rate, this is going to thaw out. My point is this. For the first, I would say, until about 5 years ago, I was solely on public water, city water, municipal water, however you want to call it, because it's all I had. And a couple of years ago, I told this story a while back, so some of you might remember it. A couple of years ago, we had a drought, and it was so bad and so hot for so long that I had to give up some of my plants because it was costing me way too much to water them. It rained 3 times the entire summer, well, most of the summer. I would say July and August, we only had 3 decent rains, and that was not enough to fill up my barrels. Well, back then it was barrel singular. I was doing a combination of city water and rainwater. I had 1 catchment barrel up until we moved out here. So I would say 10 years ago, I went from straight city water to rainwater plus city water. And for the last 2.5 years since I've been up here, water-wise, I've been off-grid. I don't have city water up here. That was part of the plan. I don't want city water because I have to pay for it. Now, this is a 55-gallon water catchment container, and this is about 40. I have these all over the property. I have a total of 9 of these different sizes. They're mostly this size here. So when this gets full and it's not frozen, you'll see I have hoses around here. Then that hose will go up to these troughs up here. Now, people tell me all the time, why don't you use these to plant your vegetables, to plant your, what you're growing? And I politely tell them every time, do the math. These are approximately 175 gallons each. So I've watched a bunch of videos and I've seen people that actually go ahead and fill these up. If you don't want to just use complete soil, you have to put in sticks and branches and, all kinds of stuff at the bottom, material that's going to eventually break down, but you're still going to spend $30, $40, $50 to fill each one of these with soil. So I thought about it a couple times, and basically the question is, how long is it going to take to get that back? How much do you have to grow in order to get that back? And then I thought about that in the reverse. I am going to run, what I do in the winter, that's when I get most of my water from, runoff from stuff like this, the snow, rain, sleet, all that good stuff. I run a hose from my, the barrel that I just showed you, and I fill these, and this way, when the spring comes, I don't have to worry about water for the summer. Now, do the math. If you do, say, 50 gallons of water a week, 50 gallons of water a week for your plants, and these 3 containers, that will give you over 500 gallons. So 50, that's 200 a month. So that's 400 for the month of July and August. That means that instead of having to use city water, if I had city water, then I would just use that water. But if you do that, like I said, in reverse, if I just fill these and use them as planters, I don't have that ability to save that water. And on top of that, now I have to find water to water whatever it is that I planted in here. So now the question becomes, how long is it going to take for you to recoup your investment if you have to pay to fill these and then pay to water these if you don't have enough water saved up? So I guess with each individual, you have to look at your own situation. I'm not saying go out and buy these. You might live in the city, you may not even have this option, but what I am saying is, if you can get 1 barrel on top of what you have, then you can transfer that water from the barrel that comes down your spout into wherever you're saving your water. So now the question becomes, why? What's the difference? Well, I did some research on that too. I did a video a while back on using city water, and I just recently re-researched it, and the average municipal water system uses these 10 chemicals: chlorine, aluminum sulfite, calcium oxidate, which is lime, ferric chloride, sodium hydroxide, activated carbon, polyphosphates, hydrogen peroxide, and something called ozone. Most of these I've never heard of. Some of these I'm struggling to even pronounce. That's what you're getting in your city water, in your municipal water. I mean, it varies from city to city, state to state, county to county, but this is just on average. So if you are growing your crops with this and then rinsing them off, if you rinse them off before you cook them and then cooking them, you're using these chemicals over and over and over in your food. Getting spring water, rainwater, you avoid all that, and you end up with just water from nature, and it saves you a lot of money, and it's better for you. So, moving on to the main attraction. Well, I'm inside my homestead hideaway hangout, and I don't have any heat on in here, but it is significantly warmer. If it's 29, I think I said outside, and it's like 40 in here, so it feels a little better. Now, this is the pump that I use to transfer the water that I spoke of a minute ago from the catchment system to the troughs up at the top of the hill there. I've had several of these, and a word of caution, do not leave these out when the temperature drops below freezing. I brought this out to just to show you, to make this video. I keep this in the house when it's not in use, because this is probably my third one, because I keep forgetting to bring it in the house, and temperatures drop in the wintertime, and there's water in here even when it's not running, and when it freezes it expands. You probably learned that in elementary school in science. And I end up buying a new pump. This was $38. There's some cheaper, there's some more expensive, depends on how much water you want to move, but I go on the lower end because I don't want to spend a lot of money. I mean, that's why I'm the frugal gardener, because I'm trying to do this on the cheap. This will last you for quite a long time if you take care of it. So this is a way that you can transfer water around so that when it does get warm, I realize now, you know, we're approaching winter and people aren't thinking about this kind of stuff, but this is the type time that you should really start putting your water away so that when the weather gets warm, you'll have it. So now I'm going to show you something that's going to throw you off a bit, and that's this. This is what I had left over from Thanksgiving. Yes, they're sweet potato peels, celery, white potato peels, carrots, that kind of thing. Because the big reveal, which is something I told you I haven't done for about, let me see. Well, since I've been out here, I know I haven't. And I probably have not done this in 4 or 5 years, and that is this. I am going back to composting. Composting was a big thing with gardeners on the internet, on YouTube years ago, and everybody seems to have gotten away from it. These 2 bins look like crap. Well, this one does. This one is in pretty decent shape. When this thaws out, the weather's supposed to warm up into the 40s in a couple of days. By the weekend, I'm going to dump these, and I'm going to move them way over here. If you notice, you'll see all these leaves, and people actually pay money to have people come and get rid of their leaves. That is a huge mistake in my view, because these leaves have a lot of nutrients that is good for your garden. I mean, leaves have potassium, they have sulfur, they have nitrogen, they have phosphorus, calcium, and magnesium. So think about it. Before people had gardens, how did the peach trees and apple trees and the cherry trees and, you know, all those different fruit trees, how did they come back every year? How did they thrive? How did they do well without man having to take care of them and fertilize them? It was done through nature. It was done through all these things that I just named to you. This is all part of the cycle. And I'm walking over here because this is where I'm going to put my my compost bins. I miss using my compost bins because I didn't waste anything. I mean, there's very few things that I was not able to add my compost bin. And I did a couple of videos. I'm going to link to the video that I like the best about composting, which gives you all the information rather than to go over the whole thing in and again. And here again, you see all the leaves. The reason why I was hesitant is because I have chickens, and I'm afraid that the compost is going to attract the predators. So I'm not going to compost during the summer, but a lot of these predators aren't out and about that much in the winter, And this is the furthest that I can put this away where I can get to it easily, but it is the opposite end of where my chickens are, way over here. So that's roughly 300 feet from where they are. You can't even see them. You can hear them sometimes, but this is pretty far away. So I'm hoping that the distance from here to there will be enough to keep the predators away, at least for the winter. Normally, I would turn my compost over 3 times a year. At the end of the year, I would stop the last compost and start a new bin, and by the spring, it'll be ready to go. Compost is going to give you almost all the nutrients that you need to grow whatever it is you need to grow. It's going to cut down on a lot of waste. It's going to save you a lot of money. It's convenient. It's better than the stuff you buy from the store. I admit that I have been buying compost from the store, and decent compost is going to cost you between $5 and $7 a bag, and you're not going to get away with one bag with the size of garden that I have. So I end up having to spend quite a bit when I do my compost, which is the reason why I decided to go ahead and set this up over here. Actually, the 2 bins, set them up over here and try to secure them as best I can. So that's the biggie. That's the one that everybody gets away from. That's the one that's actually going to give you the nutrients that you need when you're growing, whether you're growing in boxes, whether you're growing in upcycle containers, wherever you're going to be growing. That's what you're going to do. This, we're really going to save you a ton of money, and it's going to give you, better results and better taste in food. So on my next video, I'm going to give you guys the update, which I haven't done for a while, on everything that you have watched me plant over the last couple of months in the containers, in everything that's been upscaled, in the boxes. So it's not a reveal, it's an update, because you pretty much know everything that's growing. So we'll be inside the greenhouse, or the homestead hideaway hangout, and that's going to be in a couple of days. So thank you guys again for your support, for watching this video, for liking this video, and for sharing this video. I'm the Frugal Gardener. I'll catch you guys in a couple of days. Remember, when you grow your own food, you'll always know where it comes from. Catch you on the flip side. Enjoy your day.